a lot of things where it comes down to people, acting like one truth is actually the full truth of something, and then ultimately that's not the truth at all, and they just made that up because they want to. That's essentially what I get when it comes down to anytime somebody brings up the conversation of like the male audience versus the female audience, whether it's like an anime or a game or whatever the hell is the sort. Because let's just keep it very much a stack at the end of the day. There is a reason why there is a lot of things that is more male catered than there is female catered. And it's not even just because, it's not even like in any reason of being like, oh, sexist or anything like that. It's just that is literally how things work, and that has how always things kind of been, right? And to be real, unless something very drastic happened, I don't think that's something that's just gonna straight up change. What I'm actually trying to get at is that I saw a whole, like, I guess like poll, not a poll, but like I guess like a ratio system of males to females that play certain gacha games. And looking at the list, a lot of these games are more so catered, or at least more so you having males playing the games than you have females playing the games. Now obviously you'll have the odd ones out that have like the females just straight up decimating the other games, and that's perfectly fine, but you have an idea as to why that is the case, right? Or at least you have an idea that maybe fluke chance, maybe it is something like this where it's like, okay, this one game may have something where it's just more females than guys, and that's perfectly fine. But at the very same time, you do have a lot of games that's on here that are just more so here to be in the eyes of guys and things like that. One big problem I always see, or at least one big discussion I always see when people kind of talk about games and such like this, especially in the gacha space, is why is there so many female characters? Why is there not enough male characters? We need to balance the ratio and all that sort of stuff. Because of money. That's it. That's literally the only reason as to why we keep getting female characters more than we do get male characters. Now don't sit here and get me wrong. I don't necessarily mind a male character coming through, but there is factors to it where I'm going to find it, worth my time, worth pulling for in certain games. Like for instance, when it comes down to anything Genshin related, I'm not gonna lie, even with someone like Aoife on the banner right now, do I think he's a cool character? Yes, absolutely. Do I think, he's somebody that's actually kind of fun to play? Yeah, absolutely. It's for sure. But at the very same time, is it a character that I would sit here and just play all the time? No, not really. And the reason for that is just because, well, I mean, he's cool, but he's not adding anything for me to just continue to want to care, Like, and that's kind of like my whole thing. Like, character design wise, yes, you can have someone like Nouvellette there, but there's a reason why I pull for Nouvellette. One, he's voiced by Ray Chase, and Ray Chase has done Noctis's voice, done the Master of Masters from Kingdom Hearts, and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, okay, that's a bonus right there. And then to add on the fact that he's just that really cool in the story, and he has a unique kit, like, not gonna lie, yeah, for sure I'll pull for Nouvellette, and how important he is, that's for sure I'll pull for him. He looks cool, and all that sort of stuff, as well as a bonus. So for me personally, you have to have like a lot of reasons as to why I would care to pull, because yes, for a lot of people, they will pull for characters because they're broken in the game and all that sort of stuff, and I sometimes will do that too. However, I will mainly pull for a character if I like that character in the story and how they are and things of the sort like that. So the reason why I don't have someone like Shallonen in my game is very simply put, I don't care for Shallonen. I know a lot of other people do, but me personally, I just don't really care for her. If she looked different, or she had like a different design or something of the sort, maybe if, her lines were, I guess, done differently, maybe I would care for Shallonen, but genuinely I just do not. Where on the other hand, someone like, I don't know, Ian-san, I was like, yeah, we haven't seen a lot of her. She doesn't really do much, but still, I kind of like the character in some shape and form. So let's just go ahead and go for it. And that's not even me just being on the type of time and just be like, oh yeah, flat lolly for the win. It's not even on that type of timing. It's just more so just like, well, I just genuinely thought the character was kind of cool. Also, the fact that we saw them like years ago also has something to do with that. But that's just kind of how my thinking is when it comes down to, you know, some of that, right? Because on the female side, no shit, I'm pulling for basically whoever the hell I want to, because it's either going to be because you're fine as hell, it's either going to be because, you know, the character is important to the plot, it's going to be because the design is great. There's just more so, for me, a bigger reason as to pull for a character that is female, because it just is what I like. I like to see fine, great looking characters, and mainly great looking female characters when it comes down to it, instead of just being there for like someone that's boring as Ayato or someone like Ito. I don't hate Ito, but you know, I just wouldn't sit here and pull for them. Or someone like Albedo. Albedo is mad important, but at the very same time, do I really want Albedo? Not really, you know, and that's just kind of how it is. There has to be a level, at least when it comes to the male characters, a level of coolness and a level of just like absolute aura that's there. That's why I also have like someone like Zhongli on the damn game, right? Because Zhongli is amazing. He is great as a character, and even better as, you know, the guy that chucks meteors at your ass. So it's a fantastic time. But at the very same time though, again, there's more factors leaning away to of wanting to pull those characters than there is when it comes down to, like, you know, the female side of things. Now, I will sit here and say that yes, you definitely need to add male characters into your gacha if that's what you're going to do, if that's what the story demands. That's perfectly fine. But at the very same time, the reason why you're not getting a shit ton of them is because that's not what a shit ton of people lean towards, no matter what you really want or what you're looking for, right? That's kind of like, and if you really think about it as a wider scope of things, just in gaming entirely, you would understand, yeah, a lot of people will lean towards X other character instead of the maybe the character that's old as hell and all that sort of stuff too, right? Because I assume the reason why someone like Kazuya got into Smash over someone like Heihachi, which is the pick that a lot of more mature people would choose, is because Heihachi is old as shit. And you gotta think about it. Do kids really want to run around playing Smash, playing old ass Heihachi, and don't understand why he's there? You know, like in certain games that makes sense for them to kind of pick Heihachi, like Soul Calibur 2. That made sense because, you know, it is what it is, and at that point, you know, fighting games were still very much not widely in the faces of a lot of people like that, so it was what it was. But still, you know, not everybody was gonna probably sit here and want to play an old ass man. I would have thought they would have went with Jin to kind of resonate with, you know, a younger audience, but they hit the middle ground, just said, let's just do Kazuya, because, you know, he was there first, which makes sense, you know. And if you're the protagonist, that's just gonna just give you that leniency to kind of be there if you really want to be there, you know. But still, you know, outside of like things like that, you got to look at it from perspective, what is something that people care way more for than a whole nother thing. And that's kind of where people in, you know, game devs and just even anything in general can have to look into certain ways of how to improve certain things while also still giving the people what they want. Like, for instance, if you had Varka fully designed, you saw everything about him fully exactly what you want in that character and design and everything like that, and then you have right on the second banner Alice from the Hexen Circle right there, fully decked out in what you think Alice would look like. If you had both of these characters coming in the same damn patch, who the hell do you think is going to make more money? Who the hell do you think people are actually going to just sit here and strive for? While both of them will probably and most likely sell very well, let's just be real, Alice will probably sell way more, mainly because it's a female character. She probably gonna look mad fine, and let's just keep it very much a stack, she's probably just appeals way more than what we have for the opposite sex. That's just how it is. Like, hell, and I'll be completely honest, at least this is for me, but even a character like Vinci, I would sit here and just, you know, actually pull and play for that character. Outside the fact that they're just good, but off of just design alone, I would go get them. And the reason for that is, you know, again, discarding Archon Hood and, you know, character, how they play and all that type of stuff, but more so just focusing on design, I would pull because I thought he was a chick. That is literally the only reason. Same thing for Dahlia when they, make him come into the game next patch, whenever the time comes. I'm most likely gonna shoot for, obviously mainly gonna be shooting for Skirk, but I wouldn't mind getting Dahlia as well, and the reason for that is because, well, they're kind of like the Twink brothers. They're kind of like the Twink brothers, and I can already imagine and visualize, and the damn fan base has already done so, visualize some very sus shit, but at the very same time, because they look feminine, they can kind of get away with it, right? And that's like literally anything with track characters, because for the most part you're not really attracted to them because they're a guy. You're attracted to them because they look somewhat feminine and they kind of hit on that level, right? At least of acceptability for you, of what you want to do and want to clap, right? And it doesn't help Vinci's case at all when Archons can just change gender if they want to. So go ahead, bend it over, Vinci. It is what it is, honestly. But my main point of what I like to just get across is this: we are just going to like what we are going to like. At the end of the day, many more people are going to be more prone to just check out a female character because of just how things are, versus going out their way to be ready to pull for the next male character. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that the male character is bad or anything like that, or even if the female character is the best female character of all time. None of those things could be true, but at the very same time, they're still going to get some pulls in. But they're also going to be the factor of, hey, we're going to just pull for this character because that's what I'm really into. That's what I really like. Like, let's keep it very much a stack. A lot of people skip Malika. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Do I need another Pyro character that does heavy damage? No, I got Arlecchino. I have Hu Tao. I have Shane Ling. I don't really need a Pyro character to just come through and do damage on a ridiculous level. That being said, do you think I would say no to Malika and her character design? Absolutely not. Give me that fine biker Pyro Archon booty right now. That is how I feel, because I just like the design of the character. You could very much argue and debate if you like just the aesthetic of that character. That's not what I'm talking about. Very much just talking about just really just what appeals to me and what the design and choices of that stuff is, right? Same thing with literally the entirety of the Fatsui when it comes down to Genshin. I don't really care for most people in the Fatsui, if I'm going to be honest, right? I don't really care for Penguin Man. I don't really care too hard for Piero, even though he does look kind of cool. I don't really care too much for like someone like Senora when she was around, or the box of Senora, I would say now, because that's just kind of how she is, right? To an extent, I kind of care for Child, but I also kind of don't care for Child. So there's that. But at the very same time, you know who I'm super hyped for? People like Sandrone, people like, Columbina. Mainly the main one I would say at the Fatsui that I really am here for, I think there is Pantalone, the rich dude, so I do care for him, and I do want to see what do they do, if at anything at all, and I do want to see what they do with the Torre, obviously. But if I'm going to be absolutely honest, I mainly more so care for the female characters in this unit, in a more who would I pull for way, because if we literally had Fatsui members, coming through being like playable characters and whatever, not gonna lie, I'm aiming way harder for like Sandrone and Columbina, especially, more than I would Pantalone or a upgraded Child if they somehow do something like that, or even a Piero. If it came down to like a Columbina and Piero combination of like different banners, who would I pull for? It's Columbina. Like, it is what it is. I'm sorry, Columbina has my interest a million times more than Bearded Man. Like, it just is what it is for me. So that's how that goes, And again, it's not just Genshin that's like this when it comes down to it for me. Hell, even this very channel has a wide aspect ratio of just straight up more male people watching this channel than there is female people. That's because the content and how it is more dedicated to a more male side. Now, if you're just female and you don't mind all that stuff, welcome aboard. That's perfectly fine. I have no qualms about that. But it's just gonna be more male-centric ideas of what I want to yap about or think about at times and say out loud. Like, damn, she got a fat ass. Of course, that's gonna be something I say, because why the hell wouldn't it be? But there's oftentimes really just overall in gaming and just media as a whole, where people will dead ass sit here and just straight up tell you that nah, the male characters, their interest is, when it comes down to the male audiences, that's not true. That's not what's the most important thing right now. The most important thing is to find, male, design of that character with the abs and all that sort of stuff. That's what everyone wants to see, when that's clearly and very much obviously not what everybody wants to see. And hell, even when it comes down to things that are female dominant at times, they still somewhat cater to guys in some shape and form. Like, let's just keep it very much a second, I'm gonna be real. Like a lot of things in VTubing, I've seen a lot of VTubers that are female, a lot of them dominate that space. That's fine, but at the very same time, you know what they also do to help dominate that space and to get people to, spend money on them or support them in some shape and form, is that they're finding some route or some way to be sexy. Like, let's keep it very much a stack. You didn't just throw out $200 to a random VTuber because, they're just nice and a kind personality and all that sort of stuff. No, you drop some money also in a sort of way because they have a really good design that you care for, or they're hot, or they shake ass in some shape and form, right? Even if they are sometimes the worst person behind that VTuber model, they still, give you what you want at some point in time, right? And that's mainly because the model helps out. The model is the thing that you mainly is going to see a lot of the time, and whatever updates they get to it, if it's sexier or if it's something that's more akin to what you're looking for, then you're going to be here for it, right? That's just ultimately how it is. And that's why that market is so damn good when it comes down to, VTubing as a whole, because that's what they're going to get. That's what you're going to get something like that, right? People like the hell out of Marine from Hololive, mainly because, she out here leaning in that stature. She's leaning into that sort of thing, and it's like, well, who wouldn't want to clap Marine? Everybody lines up to clap Marine for $5. She'll make a killing that day while her whole crew is getting killed as well. It is what it is. My point is, it's just that there is going to be a lean towards males, and there's going to be a lean towards females depending on the circumstance of what you're having here. Because at the end of the day, would it be nice to have some balance of the two between, gacha games and just things in general? Sure, but at the very same time, the money flows more when it comes down to a certain lean and a certain bias. It just is what it is. And this don't have to just be about gender. This could literally be about literally anything. But just kind of, again, preface this a bit more, the whole intergalactic game with the bald looking female Frieza. Like, I'm pretty sure majority of guys isn't gonna sit here and play that game unless you're just someone that is completely, a male feminist or something like that, or you just straight up just, hate life and you just want to see people suffer, I suppose. But a lot of people would turn a game like that off and go play something like Stellar Blade and, have fun with someone like Eve or something like that. Like, literally, I believe Stellar Blade in 2B literally just got praised recently for certain things, where, something like Intergalactic or The Last of Us HBO series or all that stuff or whatever the hell literally got shitted on for obvious reasons that are obvious. But you get the dang point. Just in general, I am super, for me personally, leaning towards the things that I like. And that's what really you should have, right? You shouldn't be judged for that if that's what's going to be the case. Lean toward the things that you like and just kind of deal with it, and that's just how it is. Because there's not really much changing that, again, unless something absolutely, utterly, world-changingly drastic happens. I would lean more to pull for, the female characters in that game than I would anybody else. Same thing with literally Genshin, as I said before. Dahlia is coming, and that's perfectly fine. They're most likely going to be a 4-star. But when it comes down to it, though, I'm mainly here for a Skirk. Not just, because of design and everything like that, but for lore purposes and all the other reasonings that you could possibly have. Because, bitch, it's Skirk. What the hell do you mean you're not pulling for Skirk? I don't care if she's cryo. Doesn't matter to me. Skirk is cool as shit. You mean to tell me you don't want that? You're insane. So there is very much that. And the same thing you can feel literally about any future gacha game that's coming out. Like Silver Palace or whatever the hell that's going to be. Because I just saw that literally like 10 seconds ago. Because that looks hella cool. female characters looking great. If it's Yuri, I'm kind of out. If it gets to a Yuri point, I'm not gonna really sit here and be here for it, you know. And that's like a whole nother thing. It's not really many Yuri shit that I would sit through, if I'm gonna be honest. Only Akuma no Riddle, that anime and manga, and more so the manga, was the only thing I sat through and cared about. But that's just how it was. Then you get things like Neverness to Everness and Anta, you know. Again, games that I would sit here and pull for, you know, the female characters of, not with the male characters. Again, not because they're bad, but because that's just where I lean to. And most likely, that's where a lot of people will continue to lean to as well. So, again, it's not that we hate people or hate male characters or anything like that. It just, that's not where the lean is to. And that's where the money isn't making anything. So, unless the game is super dedicated to them, you know, like Infinite Nikki, or that one male space game, or whatever the hell it is, that is just nothing but straight up good looking guys. It is what it is. That's just kind of how it is, right? But that's, I guess, really all I wanted to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also on socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi Cash Out is available as well. And until then, it's me, Boy J, signed off. Have a blessed day.